Chapter 36, The Gosling Grows. Bright Bill soon forgot about the incident with Rockmouth, and he spent his mornings cruising around the pond with the other goslings. He was becoming a great little swimmer. He was also becoming a great little speaker. "Hello, my name is Bright Bill," he said to anyone who would listen. The gosling was small for his age, and he always would be, but he was growing bigger and stronger by the day. His increasing size was matched by his increasing appetite. He gobbled down grass and berries and nuts and leaves, and sometimes he'd snack on little insects. If it was edible, Bright Bill would eat it, and even if it wasn't edible, he might eat it anyway. Roz felt something like fright the time she saw Bright Bill swallowing pebbles on the beach. She was holding him upside down and hoping the pebbles would fall out of his mouth, and then Loudwing stepped in. "Put the gosling down," said the goose with a laugh. "It's perfectly natural for Bright Bill to eat a few pebbles. They'll help him digest his food. But not too many, okay, little one?" Like most youngsters, Bright Bill was incredibly curious. He explored the garden and the pond and the forest floor. He would occasionally explore neighboring homes. He'd wander down some hole in the ground and say to whoever was there, "Hello, my name is Bright Bill." Then a long robot arm would reach in and pull the gosling back outside. "Sorry to bother you," Roz would say in her friendliest voice. The mom and son slipped into a good nighttime routine. While the gosling slept, the robot might tend to the fire if it was cool out, or gently fan him if it was warm. If he woke up hungry or thirsty, Roz brought him food or water, and whenever he had nightmares, she was always there to rock him back to sleep. Chapter 37, The Squirrel. A small squirrel was scurrying through the garden. Bright Bill had never seen her before. He peered out from the nest and watched her bounce across the lawn, and after a minute's spying, the gosling shook his tail feathers and waddled outside. "Hello, my name is Bright Bill." The squirrel froze, and she slowly turned around, and then she started to talk. "Hi, Bright Bill, my name is Chit Chat, and I'm 12 and a half weeks old, squirrel, and I'm new around here, and your home is really big and round, and I don't understand why smoke comes out of it." Reader, I'm not quite sure how Chit Chat got enough air into her lungs to go on like that, and I'm not quite sure how Bright Bill had the patience to listen, but he stood there and politely nodded as Chit Chat rambled on and on and on and on. "And sometimes I see you waddling behind your funny-looking mother, and he seemed so nice that I thought I'd come down and introduce myself. And now I'm nervous, and now I'm talking too much, and my name is Chit Chat, and I think I said that already." There was pleasant silence. Bright Bill stood on one foot for a moment. The gosling took a deep breath and said, "It's very nice to meet you, Chit Chat, and I don't think you talk too much. I think you talk just enough, and I like you, so let's be friends." A big smile appeared across the squirrel's tiny face, and for once, Chit Chat was speechless. Chapter 38, A New Friendship. Chit Chat wasn't speechless for long. She had already been alive for a whole 12 and a half weeks, and she wanted to tell Bright Bill about every exciting thing and every boring thing that ever happened to her. And so, as the new friends played and explored and ate together, the squirrel shared her stories. "I was born on the other side of the hill, and then last week I was ready to build my own dray, which is what you would call a squirrel nest, and now I live in that tree with the weird bump on its trunk," she said while the two of them kicked pebbles into the pond. "One time a weasel chased me through the treetops until he missed a branch, and then he fell all the way down and crashed into a bush and walked away all wobbly, and he never bothered me again," she said while the two of them crawled through the hollow log. "Ew, gross. I saw you ate that ant one time, and I ate a gnat by accident, and I didn't like it at all, and I mostly eat acorns and bark and tree buds and sometimes yummy berries that grow in your garden," she said while the two of them took a snack break. But Chit Chat was a good listener, as she was a good talker, and whenever it was Bright Bill's turn to speak, she kept quiet and hung on his every word. Do you know who enjoyed their conversations most of all? Our robot Roz. The protective mother was never far away, and she felt something like amusement at the silly conversation she overheard, and she felt something like happiness that her son had made such a good friend. Chapter 39, First Flight. Bright Bill had spent his entire life by the pond, and he was becoming very curious about what lay beyond his neighborhood. So one day his mother said to him, "Let's go for a walk, and I will show you more water than you can possibly imagine." Roz placed a gosling on her flat shoulder, and the two of them set off across the island. They marched out of the forest, across the great meadow, and climbed uphill until they were at the top of the island's western ridge. Before them was a grassy slope that descended all the way into the dark, choppy waves that surrounded the island. "That's a lot of water," said the wide-eyed gosling. "I'm a good swimmer, but I'm not good enough to swim across that pond." "That is not a pond," said the robot. "That is an ocean, and I doubt any bird could swim across an ocean." Waves rolled in from the horizon. Seagulls soared above the shore. A steady breeze blew up the slope. Bright Bill's yellow fluff had recently changed over to a coat of silky brown feathers. Let's start that again. Chapter 39, The First Flight. Bright Bill had spent his entire life by the pond, and he was becoming curious about what lay beyond his neighborhood. So one day his mother said to him, "Let's go for a walk, and I will show you more water than you can possibly imagine." Roz placed a gosling on her flat shoulder, and the two of them set off across the island. They marched out of the forest, crossed the great meadow, and climbed up a hill until they were at the top of the island's western ridge. Before them was a grassy slope that descended all the way to the dark, choppy waves that surrounded the island. "That is a lot of water," said the wide-eyed gosling. "I'm a good swimmer, but I'm not good enough to swim across that pond." "That is not a pond," said the robot. "That is an ocean. I doubt any bird could swim across an ocean." Waves rolled in from the horizon. Seagulls circled above the shore. A steady breeze blew up the slope. Bright Bill's yellow fluff had recently changed over to a coat of silky brown feathers, and he spread his feathery wings into the breeze. And then, "Mama, look!" For the briefest of moments, the wind lifted Bright Bill off the ground. He quickly tipped backward and thumped into the soft grass. "I was flying!" he squeaked. "That was not flying," said Roz, looking back at her upside-down son. "I have observed many birds in flight," said Roz. "Sometimes they flap their wings quickly, and other times they fly without flapping at all. They spread their wings and they soar in the wind." "So, was I soaring?" said Bright Bill. "Almost. There, look at that seagull. It seems like she is not doing anything, but if you look closer, you will notice that she's making small adjustments with her wings and tail. I think you should try adjusting your wings in the air like her." Bright Bill hopped onto a rock and opened his wings wide. "The wind is pushing me backward." "Change the angle of your wings," said his mother. "Let us see what happens when they slice through the air." Bright Bill slowly angled his wings downward. The more he turned them, the less the wind pushed him backward. And, just as his wings leveled off, "Mama, look!" he squeaked as his feet left the ground. I'm soaring!" He hovered there for a second and rising a little higher than before, and then he sailed backward onto the soft grass again. The gosling kept hopping onto the rock and kept riding the wind and kept tumbling into the grass until he started to find his wings. With each attempt, he floated a little higher and a little longer, and finally, Bright Bill really did soar. He lifted high into the air and hung there, floating. He turned his wings down and felt himself drop. He wiggled his tail feathers and felt himself veering back and forth. "I'm a natural!" he squeaked. "You are doing very well," said Roz, "but you need to keep practicing." And so they spent the afternoon practicing up on the ridge, and once Bright Bill was comfortable with soaring, he tried flapping his wings. He flapped high into the air. He flapped in straight lines. He flapped around and around in circles, and a bright smile appeared on the gosling's face. Clearly, Bright Bill was the natural to fly. I'm flying, Mama. I'm really flying. You are flying, said the robot. Very good. Brightwell was now a real flyer. But all that flying had worn him out, and he lowered himself towards the ground and tumbled into the grass one last time. His landing still needed some work. Roz placed Brightbill on her shoulder and headed back to the nest. I can't believe I can fly now, Mama, said Brightbill in his sleepy voice. I just wish you could fly with me. And then the gosling's words were replaced by his quiet, steady breathing. That's it for today, guys. Have a great weekend.